Hi, welcome to the Corner of Knit and Tea, episode 20. I'm joined today by my co-hosts, Dave, Stuart, and Tim.
Look at Luke. More like. Yay!
They wanted to come say hi. Yes, I am building an army of minions. These were Christmas gifts from my husband, and they crack me up. They're going to live in my craft room, and I just thought they'd be fun. They talk, they dance, they sing. Super fun. Woo! So, how are you? I am your host, Laura. I can be found as Fluffy K on Ravelry, Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog at the Corner of Knit and Tea, which is where all the show notes for this episode will be. And I have an Etsy store at the Stash Buckler Adventures in Yarn. And finally, we have a Ravelry group, the Corner of Knit and Tea. So please come join us. Come find me at any of those locations. I hope that you have had wonderful holidays. We celebrated Christmas earlier this week with my in-laws. It was a good Christmas. It was pretty quiet, which is how I like them. I tried cooking a few new dishes, and we mostly just hung out and watched movies and enjoyed. And the weather was actually pretty good for Christmas. It was in the 40s. It's since gotten a little bit cooler, but we just had a good time. I got some crafting done, and like I said, we watched movies and hung out, and it was just a good time. So I hope that you had a wonderful time with your family if you were celebrating, and that you're enjoying this last week of the year. It's always so interesting. For me, work always slows down towards the end of the year, and there's just lots of time for me to think about what I want to finish up and what I want to start in the new year. And I won't necessarily say resolutions, because I'm not sure I really do those exactly, but it's just a nice time of the year. It can be a little stressful too, so you know, but I enjoy getting to spend some time at home with my husband. We've been totally lazy for the past few days, just stayed in our pajamas and hung around the house, and we had plenty of leftovers, so we didn't have to go out and do anything. And today I'm trying to get a little bit back into the swing of things, doing some laundry, doing some grocery shopping. I think I'm going to try and hit a yoga class later, kind of get myself ready for another week. It'll be a little slow because I'll have New Year's Day off, but yeah, so it's just kind of both an exciting time and also a time to just kind of relax and enjoy the end of the year. So one of the most exciting things about recording today is my other Christmas present from my husband was a Blue Yeti microphone. So I am podcasting using that today, and you will have to tell me if you think the sound is better on this recording. So far, it's been super easy to set up. It has a mode that it recommends for podcasting, and I did a little bit of research online to see what people use as the settings, and I started with that today. And we will see how that goes. So that is me. Let's jump right into the podcast. Today's tea that I'll be sipping is from David's Tea. It's called Caramel Corn. It is a sample that I got from them. It is an herbal blend that includes apple, cinnamon, pineapple, caramel, currants, almonds, beetroot, coconut, popcorn, and some other natural flavoring. So I am working on that. And today I am using my beautiful infuser mug, which was a gift from a friend of mine. Oops, knocked the table. It was a gift from a friend of mine. I don't know exactly where she got it, although I have seen some similar ones at Cost Plus World Market. What I think is really cool about this one is it comes with an infuser section. It's ceramic, it has holes in it, and so you can put the tea in here and put it in the cup, and it matches everything. It just fits between the cup and the lid, and then you can pour your water over it. I pulled it out and washed it when I was done with it, and then I have a nice little lid to keep my tea hot, which particularly when I'm podcasting is nice because it gets cool as I talk through my podcast. So this is caramel corn. Blinked on that. Ooh, that is nice. It's very sweet. It's definitely got fruit in it because I can taste that. Very nice. Very, very nice. And I love the mug. I use it quite a bit. So that is what I'm sipping today. And then we'll go back over here to stay warm until I'm done. Which brings me to what I'm wearing, which is also my finished object for the week. This is, if you remember a few weeks ago, I knit the Eternity Scarf by Michelle Wang. It was part of Brooklyn Tweed Fall 2012. And I decided I wanted one for myself, and I upsized it just a little bit. I used a skein of Woolmize DK, Merino DK in the Magnolia colorway, which as you can see is a pink, and then it's got some dusty shades in it. It's a very semi-solid. And I modified a little bit. There actually is a stockinette section of the cowl, and I chose not to do that. I chose to just do the other two charts. So, but I like it. It's nice and toasty warm. It has not been blocked, and I am trying to decide if I am going to block it. I blocked the first one, and I liked how it came out. And I would be okay if I got enough length to sort of double the cowl over. But Kim over Come Knit With Us, she and I were doing a little knit along together, and she said she blocked hers and wished she hadn't. So I am kind of waiting to see, but I thought I would just wear it today, just to keep me warm and cozy. And I am very pleased with that. That is finished now, and I cannot recommend the pattern highly enough. It is a paid-for pattern. It costs $6, but I really enjoyed it, and that's probably the best color representation I can give you. So yeah, so that's what I'm wearing. The other finished object, which is not technically a finished object for this week, but I wanted to show you again, was the hemlock ring blanket that I knit as a Christmas tree skirt. And the reason I wanted to show you it again is because I went ahead and killed the acrylic with steam heat, and now it lays nice and flat. So it is all set. And it is not under the tree because the tree was already put up this year, but I do think I'm going to take a few photos of it under the tree before we put the tree away. My favorite part actually is probably the center, which in this case looks like a poinsettia. I'm not sure that that's exactly what it was supposed to be, but of course in the red it kind of looks like that. Hello. So that is what I've got. I am done with that one, and I will be testing it under the tree, but then packing it up and putting it away for next year. But I am super pleased with that, and it lays much flatter now. So that was definitely needed in this case. What I did was I pinned the blanket out the way I wanted it to. Actually, I'll start back. I threw it in the washer, the washing machine, because I wanted to wash it and see how far I could get without killing the acrylic. And I pinned it out, and I got a little ways there, but I knew it wasn't going to stay. So I went ahead and wet a cloth, and you wanted the cloth wet, but not sopping wet, like not dripping wet. But I wet a very thin cloth and I laid it over, and then I ran the iron over it, and I also put steam in the iron so that it would steam heat everything, and I just went over everything really quickly. I touched on a few spots again, but I would say the iron was constantly moving. I didn't want to hit it too hard, and I got exactly what I wanted in 10 or 15 minutes. It was super easy. Now, I wouldn't necessarily recommend killing the acrylic in everything you do, because it's lost a lot of the elasticity that it had. And so if you're making garments, I wouldn't necessarily kill the acrylic, but for something like a blanket or a Christmas tree skirt, fine. It doesn't need to be super springy. It just needs to lay out nice and flat and look pretty under the tree. So that is completed. So the only project that I still really have on the needles is the Alina shawl. That's the one I'm knitting in Malabrigo lace. And I worked on that a little bit this week, but again, it's hard to tell. It's not a huge amount of progress. I knit a few more repeats, but I didn't bring it to show you because I didn't think it was super, I didn't think you'd be able to see a huge difference. So that one you probably won't see until I get a little bit more towards the lace edging or until I finish it. But that is still a project that's going on. I want to cast on a million things, but a lot of them I am actually waiting for because I am trying to do the Harry Potter House Cup in January, February, and March. And each of those, when I do Harry Potter House Cup, all of the projects need to be done between the 1st and the 30th of the month. And anything that laps over, there is one category for things that lap over, but in general, they want you to complete the projects in between like I said, the first and the end of the month. And I have a lot of small things that I want to do, some hats, some baby hats, a couple scarves, things that I can easily finish within the space of a month. So I'm kind of waiting to cast those on. One of the things that I really, really wanted to cast on for, though, was, I don't know if you watched the Little Bobbins Knits podcast with Danielle, but she wanted to do Christmas Eve cast on. And so her suggestion was that everybody get a skein of sock yarn ready for a Christmas Eve cast on. And I decided to do that. And I think I told you last week that I broke down and bought a skein of yarn, and it is absolutely gorgeous. It is from Marigold Jen, which I actually have the card here. It's Marigold Jen, and she's on Etsy. And this skein is sock weight. It's 75% BFL, 25% nylon, 464 yards. And the colorway is Merry and Bright. And so this is the color that I'm using. Oops. I had to rip back last night, so I had a little bit of extras. But it is greens and pinks and reds and then little snippets of white in it. And it is a beautiful variegated yarn. And I just could not resist because it was so pretty. And actually, I also figured that I could wear it year-round, even if they are Christmas socks, because they're colors that I really like. And they're not just red and green, so I figured with the pink and the white in there, it was okay. Anyway, I went looking on Ravelry for a pattern that would be good for variegated yarn, and I came across Zigzagular, which is a free pattern by Susie White. And I'm actually not knitting it exactly per pattern. I mean, I'm definitely using her ideas, so I will definitely attribute her. This was another Christmas gift from my mother-in-law. She got me sock blockers, but I was going to show you, I am just through the first heel on the first sock. And as you can see, there's this really pretty zigzagging, waving section. And what I will say is that basically what I did is I took this section and roughly where it was placed, and I am knitting my standard vanilla sock with this section in it. So like I said, it's definitely her sock. I also did a Fish Lips Kiss heel, and actually I will talk about that a little bit in just a second, the modifications that I did, and we'll see how that goes. But like I said, I definitely took her pattern. I am not taking credit for that, but she actually knit the socks top down, and I wanted to knit them toe up, and her numbers were not quite right for what I use on my feet for the sock that fits the best. So I just went ahead and used my plain vanilla cast on and just incorporated her panel. What I was going to say was that I am knitting these socks on, you can see my signatures, 2.25 millimeter US 1. And when I did the heel the first time, it was super loose and I was really unhappy with it. And I got to, I finished like a pattern repeat just above the heel, and I put it away for the night and I stewed about it because I knew that the heel was going to be too loose for me and that I wasn't going to like it. And I didn't really want to rip all the way back to the toe because I had cast these on Christmas Eve along with everyone else, and that just, it made me sad. I really just wanted to keep it. So I decided to rip the heel. And I knit the heel on US zeros the second time, and that has created a much snugger fabric, which is what I was looking for, even though the rest of the sock is on US ones. And so shape-wise, I think it's going to be okay. It did make the heel a little bit smaller than it was before, but I think I've tried it on and I think it's going to fit my foot, and it looks fine on the sock blocker, which is a rough approximation of a foot. So I think I'm going to stick with it and plan to do the other sock the same way. And I think it's just, this sock yarn is, it's a BFL and a nylon, and it doesn't have quite as much swoosh as a merino, and so I think it's just slightly thinner than I'm normally used to, which is why the heel was a little bit loose on, because I usually knit all my socks on ones. So I think it's just that the yarn isn't quite as squishy. On the other hand, I think the yarn is going to wear really well because it's just a little bit it seems a little bit sturdier. So it's just sort of an interesting experiment. But yes, these are my Christmas Eve socks. The pattern again is Zigzagular by Susie White. I think it is a freebie on Ravelry. And that is what I'm working on. So I'm hoping to finish the first sock in the next day or two and cast on for the second, and get those done in the next week or two, because I would love to cast on a bunch of other things. I have another pair of socks that I'd like to make. So yes, and I am super happy. These are sock blockers from, they came from Church Mouse Yarn and Tees, and they were a gift from my mother-in-law. So that is what I'm knitting on. Which brings me to what I'm spinning. I actually had a lot of spin time this week and I was super happy with it. Last week when I recorded, I showed you the bobbin of the Hello Yarn Corriedale, which was a club colorway in the colorway Hidden Thicket. And that was all kinds of greens. And that is now finished and it is up in the shop if you are interested. If you remember, this had all kinds of greens, everything from mint to sage to olive to a real forest green, Kelly, grass. It just has all the greens, and the camera's washing it out just a little bit, but it is just gorgeous. I have some pictures on my Instagram and in the shop. So that is, and I believe I got about 345 yards of sport weight. So that is that one finished. Next, I showed you 2 braids of fiber that I wanted to do for a combination spin. And one of those was Spunky Eclectic. It was a dark merino in the colorway Asteroid. And one of those was Southern Cross Fiber in a BFL silk in Seraglio. And I have finished spinning the singles for both of these. I finished last night. So these are the bobbins of singles. And I am hoping to ply those together this afternoon. So I'm super happy with the way they came out. I hope that I will have roughly equal amounts on each bobbin so that I will be able to ply them together. And I am looking forward to seeing the finished yarn. Again, whoops, this one was a kind of a, well, it was a dark merino, so it was kind of a heathery brown, and then it had bits of purple and red in it, or like a dark blue even. It's coming up a little bit purple on here. And then this one had oranges, browns, purples, reds, and a little bit of black, although I don't think you can see that under there. So I am hoping that these will ply together to make a beautiful yarn. I'm hoping for 500 to 600 yards of sport weight so that I can make a shawl. So that's what I'm going to do this afternoon, which means then it will be time for a new spin. And I actually went through my stash and picked out a whole bunch of braids that I'm going to spin hopefully in the first quarter of the next year. And one of the first braids that I picked out was actually one that I used as a giveaway for a prize a few weeks ago. I had another braid for myself, and this was a Hello Yarn Club Fiber, and it is in Headbanger. And it is teals, yellows, and browns. And I'm just really excited to spin this one up. This will be my next. And hopefully I'll have some finished yarn for you next week. It might just be a bobbin, but that is what I'm going to be working on. So that is mostly what I've been crafting on. I have a few notes. First is that the knit along in my group, the Corner of Knit and Tea over on Ravelry, is almost done. That was the gift knit along. It was, I believe I started it November 12th and the deadline is December 31st, which is post a photo, and you may have a post for every finished object of something that you created for someone else. Now, it does not have to be a holiday gift. It can be anything that you create for somebody who is not yourself. And we have, I believe, almost 200 entries over there, and that is super exciting. I'm very, very excited about that. You have a few days to finish, a few days to photo, a few days to post. I will close that on the 1st, and I will do a random number drawing for the prizes, which I will talk about right now. 2 lucky winners will receive a pattern from Ravelry. It's a pattern of your choice, up to $10. From me, I have a skein of Unwind Yarn Company. This is Journey Sock in it's superwash merino wool and nylon. It's an 80-20 blend, and the colorway is Midsummer Night's Dream. It's purples and pinks with little bits of blue and green. It's beautiful. And then as a donation from one of the group members, I have a skein of Woolmize in Twin, which is 80% merino, 20% nylon, in the colorway Gazpacho, and that is reds and kind of a poppy reddish orange, and then kind of an olive green. So there are 4 prizes. Like I said, it will all be random number generator. I will do that between the 1st and when I record next, which will probably be the 3rd or the 4th. I will announce it in the group and on the podcast. So that is what's finishing up. My next idea is for a knit along for January and February. And my idea is that we have now spent the last couple months crafting for everybody else, so I want to make it a selfish craft along. Now again, you can knit, you can crochet, you can weave, you can spin, anything that you craft between January 1st and February 15th that is for yourself. So, and I will have some prizes for that one that I will show soon. I will be starting a thread on January 1st for that one. Actually, I'll start the, I will go ahead and start the chatter thread now so we can talk about it. And then I won't start the finished objects thread where you can post pictures for prizes until the 1st. But that'll be, again, between January 1st and February 15. And all you have to do is knit something for yourself and finish it, and post a picture in the thread, and again that will be random number generator for the prizes. So I think that's about it. It's a little bit of a shorter episode, but I think that's okay. I have a bunch of things that I want to get into, and I want to wind some yarn, and I'm sure that when I come see you next weekend, since it will already be January of 2015, I can hardly believe that, but since it will already be January of 2015, I will have a bunch of new projects to show you. So I hope that you enjoyed your holiday if you celebrated, or at the very least are having a good time with your family and friends and maybe took a little time off at the end of the year. I wish you all a very happy and healthy 2015. May it be a wonderful year for all of us, crafting and otherwise. And until I see you next week, I will say happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye!